Admiral Kai Jun stood before the massive viewing screen in his command center on Nexus Prime. The fortress world hung in space like a metal moon, covered in weapons and shields that could destroy entire fleets. For 20 years, he had watched over this sector of the Valdris Empire, keeping the peace through fear and force. The Empire was old and powerful. It ruled over 47 different alien species across thousands of worlds. Emperor Vextar, a giant lizard-like being with golden scales and cruel eyes, commanded from the capital world of Dominion Prime. His word was law. His armies were unstoppable, or so everyone believed. Kai Jun was checking the daily reports when his sensors officer called out. "Admiral, we have something strange near Kepler's Gate." The trade route junction was one of the busiest spots in this sector. Hundreds of ships pass through every day, carrying goods between the outer worlds and the Empire's core. Nothing unusual ever happened there. "What kind of strange?" Kai Jun asked. "A ship, sir, but it didn't come through hyperspace. It just appeared." Kai Jun frowned. Every ship in known space used hyperspace to travel between stars. There was no other way to cross such vast distances. "Show me." The main screen changed to display the junction. Among the normal traffic of cargo ships and passenger vessels, one ship stood out. It was dark, almost black, and shaped unlike anything in the Imperial database. No curves or decorations like most alien ships. No massive engines, like human designs were supposed to have. Just clean lines and smooth surfaces that seemed to drink in the light around it. "Size?" Kai Jun asked. "About frigate class, sir. Maybe a little smaller." "Have we tried to contact them?" "Yes, sir. No response on any frequency." Kai Jun studied the ship. Something about it made him uncomfortable. It wasn't moving, wasn't trading, wasn't doing anything except sitting there, like it was watching. "Send Captain Haywan to investigate. Tell her to take the Sovereign's will and 2 escort ships." "Yes, sir." Captain Haywan was one of his best officers. She was smart, careful, and had never lost a ship under her command. If anyone could figure out what this strange vessel wanted, it would be her. An hour later, Haywan's voice crackled over the communication system. "Admiral, we're approaching the unknown vessel. It's not responding to any of our signals. Can you scan it?" "That's the problem, sir. Our scanners aren't working on it. The beams just disappear, like the ship is eating them." Kai Jun had never heard of technology that could do that. Every ship, no matter how advanced, showed up on Imperial scanners. "Try a closer approach, but be ready to jump away if it shows any hostile intent." "Understood, sir." For the next 6 hours, Haywan's small fleet circled the dark ship. They tried everything. Different types of scans, various communication methods, even flashing lights in old mathematical sequences that every spacefaring race should understand. The ship never responded. It never moved. It just hung there in space, as silent as death. But Kai Jun began to notice something else. The ship wasn't just sitting randomly. Its position gave it a perfect view of the trade routes. It could see every ship that passed through the junction. It could study the patrol patterns of Imperial vessels. It could watch the movement of military, supplies, and troops. "Haywan, I want you to log everything. Ship design, position, behavior patterns. Send it all back to Imperial intelligence." "Already doing that, sir. But, Admiral, there's something else. I'm getting reports from other sectors. Ships like this one have been spotted near 7 other locations." Kai Jun felt a chill run down his spine. One unknown ship was strange. 8 unknown ships was a pattern. All doing the same thing? Yes, sir. Just watching. Never responding to contact attempts. As the hours passed, more reports came in. The strange ships had appeared near shipyards, military bases and major hyperspace routes throughout the northern frontier of the Empire. Always alone, always silent, always watching. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the ship near Kepler's gate vanished. Not into hyperspace. Haywan's sensors would have detected that. It simply stopped existing on every scanner at the same moment. Admiral, it's gone, Haywan reported, her voice confused. 1 second it was there, the next second our screens are empty, like it was never there at all. Kai-Jun stared at the empty space where the ship had been. In his 20 years of service, he had fought pirates, rebels, and rival empires. He understood war, he understood politics, he understood the brutal math of space combat. But this was something new, something beyond his experience. Return to base, Captain. I need to make some calls. As Haywan's ships turned toward home, Kai-Jun activated the secure communication line to Imperial Intelligence. Director Taeho's face appeared on the screen, his scarred features showing concern. Admiral, I've been expecting your call. We've had similar incidents across 12 sectors in the past 3 days. Any idea who they are? None. The ships don't match any known design in our databases. The technology appears to be completely outside our understanding of physics. Hostile intent? Taeho paused. Unknown. They haven't attacked anyone, but their behavior suggests reconnaissance. Someone is studying us, Admiral. Someone with technology far beyond anything we've encountered. After the call ended, Kai-Jun remained alone in his command center, staring out at the stars. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They had conquered every species they encountered through superior technology and ruthless tactics. The idea that someone else might be watching them, studying them, preparing for something, it was unthinkable. But as reports continued to arrive throughout the night, showing more sightings across the Empire's borders, Kai-Jun began to understand that the unthinkable might be happening. Somewhere out there, hidden among the stars, was a force that could appear and disappear at will. A force with technology that made Imperial science look primitive. The question that kept him awake was simple. What did they want? The dark ships had shown no aggression, but their systematic observation of Imperial facilities suggested they were gathering intelligence for a purpose. As dawn broke over Nexus Prime, Kai-Jun had the uncomfortable feeling that his empire, which had seemed so powerful just yesterday, might be about to face its greatest challenge. He just had no idea how right he was. 3 days had passed since the first sighting at Kepler's gate, and Director Taeho had not slept well. His office in the Imperial Intelligence Building was filled with reports, data screens, and worried faces. The mysterious ships were appearing. Faster now, and the pattern was becoming clear. 12 star systems. 15 separate sightings. Always the same type of dark ship. Always near something important to the Empire. Taeho rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the star map on his wall. Red dots marked where the ships had been seen. The pattern made his stomach tighten with worry. Whoever these beings were, they knew exactly what to look for. Sir, his assistant called from the door. We just received another report from Korath VII. Korath VII was one of the Empire's biggest industrial worlds. Massive orbital shipyards built the dreadnoughts and battle cruisers that kept the Empire's enemies in line. If someone was watching that system, they were definitely planning something. What happened? Engineer Su-min filed a personal report. She was working on the night shift at Orbital Platform 7 when one of the dark ships appeared above the shipyards. Teho frowned. Why didn't the military report this? That's just it, sir. They didn't see it. According to their sensors, nothing was there. But Sumin used her personal scanner, an old mining tool she modified herself. She got readings. This was new. The military had the best sensors in the galaxy, but a mining engineer with a homemade scanner had detected something. They missed? Teho needed to hear this directly. An hour later, Sumin's face appeared on his communication screen. She was young, maybe 30, with the practical look of someone who spent her days building starships. Her dark hair was tied back, and oil stains marked her work clothes. Engineer Sumin, I understand you saw something our military missed? Yes, sir. I was checking the power systems on Platform 7 when my scanner started going crazy. I looked up and saw this dark ship just hanging there above the main construction bay. How long was it there? About 4 hours. It moved slowly around the platform, like it was studying every detail. My scanner showed it was using some kind of recording beam, much more advanced than anything I've ever seen. Teho leaned forward. Recording beam? Yes, sir. It wasn't just looking, it was copying everything. Ship designs, construction methods, weapon placements, shield generators, everything we were building. And our military sensors detected nothing? Sumin hesitated. Sir, I think their sensors might be too advanced. My old mining scanner works on a different frequency range. It's crude, but sometimes crude tools can see things that sophisticated ones miss. After ending the call, Teho sat back in his chair and thought about what this meant. These ships weren't just observing, they were stealing Imperial technology. They were learning how the Empire's ships worked, how they were built, what their weaknesses might be. He called Admiral Kai Jun immediately. Admiral, we have a problem. These ships are doing more than watching. They're recording detailed scans of our military facilities. Kai Jun's face on the screen looked grim. How detailed? Detailed enough to build copies of our ships. Or detailed enough to know exactly how to destroy them. Have you briefed the Emperor? That's my next call. But Admiral, there's something else. These beings have technology that can hide from our best sensors. If a mining engineer hadn't been in the right place with the right equipment, we never would have known they were recording us. Which means they could be anywhere, Kai Jun said slowly. Watching any of our facilities at any time. And we wouldn't know. Exactly. After the call, Teho gathered his files and walked through the halls of the Imperial Intelligence Building toward the secure communication room. He had to brief Emperor Vextar, and he was not looking forward to it. Emperor Vextar was not known for his patience. His species, the Korthak, had built the Empire through conquest and force. They believed that superior firepower was the answer to every problem. The idea that someone might be watching them without their knowledge would make the Emperor very angry. The communication room was a secure chamber deep in the building. Teho activated the quantum communicator and waited. Emperor Vexitar's massive form appeared on the screen. His golden scales gleamed under the lights of his throne room, and his yellow eyes showed the cold intelligence that had built an empire. Director Teho, I trust you have answers about these mysterious ships. Your Majesty, I have information, but not answers. These ships represent technology completely unknown to us. They can appear and disappear at will, hide from our sensors, and record detailed information about our military facilities. You're telling me that someone is spying on the Empire? Yes, Your Majesty, and they're doing it with technology far beyond our current understanding. Emperor Vexitar's eyes narrowed. Impossible. The Empire has the most advanced technology in the galaxy. We have conquered 47 species. None of them possessed anything we couldn't understand and copy. That's what concerns me, Your Majesty. This is something new. Something from outside our experience. Then find out where they come from. Find their homeworld. Find their fleets. I want to know everything about these beings before they become a threat. Your Majesty, with respect, they may already be a threat. If they can hide from our sensors and record our military secrets, they're gathering information for a reason. Emperor Vexitar stood up from his throne. His full height was impressive even on a screen. Nearly 3 meters tall, with claws that could tear through steel and teeth that could bite through armor. Then we will deal with them the same way we have dealt with every other threat to the Empire. We will find them and we will destroy them. Increase patrols along our borders. I want every ship we have looking for these intruders. Yes, Your Majesty. And Director Tejo? If these beings think they can spy on the Empire without consequences, they are about to learn how wrong they are. The screen went dark, leaving Tejo alone in the secure room. He sat there for a long moment, thinking about what he had just heard. The Emperor was planning to respond with force, as he always did. But Tejo had a bad feeling about this situation. These mysterious beings had technology that could hide from Imperial sensors. They could appear and disappear at will. They were systematically gathering intelligence about the Empire's military capabilities. This didn't sound like the random exploration of a new species. This sounded like preparation. As he walked back to his office, Tejo wondered if the Emperor's aggressive response might be exactly what these beings wanted. Throughout history, the Empire had won every conflict through superior technology and overwhelming force. But what if they were about to face an enemy that was superior to them? The thought was almost unthinkable. The Empire had been the dominant power in the galaxy for 3,000 years. But as more reports came in throughout the day, more sightings, more evidence of detailed scanning, more proof that someone was studying the Empire like a scientist. Studies an insect, Tejo began to wonder if the impossible was about to become reality. The Empire had always been the hunter. For the first time in its history, it might be about to become the prey. 2 weeks had passed since the first sighting, and the mysterious ships had become a daily occurrence across the Empire's borders. Then everything changed. Admiral Kai Jun was in his quarters on Nexus Prime, trying to get some sleep when the emergency alarm sounded. He dressed quickly and rushed to the command center where his officers were staring at their screens in shock. "Report," he ordered. "Sir, a ship just appeared above Dominion Prime," his communications officer said, her voice shaking slightly. "It's positioned directly over the Imperial Palace." Kai Jun felt his blood turn cold. Dominion Prime was the capital world of the Empire, defended by the largest fleet in known space. Nothing got close to that planet without permission. Nothing. How did it get through the defenses? Sir, it didn't go through them. It just appeared inside the defense grid. Our sensors show it materialized in a synchronous orbit exactly above the Emperor's throne room. This was beyond anything they had seen before. The other ships had appeared near trade routes and industrial sites, but this was a direct challenge to the Empire's power. Whoever these beings were, they had just announced that they could reach the Emperor himself anytime they wanted. "Sir," the tactical officer called out, "we're receiving orders to mobilize the Third Fleet. Admiral Juan is assembling every available ship in the sector for immediate deployment to Dominion Prime." Within an hour, Kai Jun was aboard his flagship, leading 200 Imperial warships toward the capital. The journey would take 6 hours at maximum speed. As they traveled through hyperspace, reports continued to come in from Dominion Prime. The dark ship remained motionless above the palace. It hadn't responded to any communication attempts. It hadn't fired any weapons. It was just there, a silent challenge to everything the Empire represented. When Kai Jun's fleet arrived at Dominion Prime, he saw the largest gathering of Imperial military power in decades. Over 1,500 ships surrounded the capital world. Battle cruisers, dreadnoughts, carriers filled with fighter craft, and support vessels of every type. The combined firepower could destroy entire star systems, all focused on one small, dark ship. Admiral Kai Jun, this is Admiral Huan. Take position in Formation 7. We're going to attempt communication one more time before taking action. Kai Jun moved his ships into position and watched as Admiral Huan's flagship, the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion, approached the mysterious vessel. The ship was exactly like the others they had seen, dark, sleek, and somehow wrong in a way that made experienced spacers uncomfortable. Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Huan of the Imperial Fleet. You are in violation of Imperial space. Identify yourself immediately or face destruction. For long minutes there was no response. The ship continued to hang motionless in space, ignoring the overwhelming firepower pointed at it. Then something happened that no one expected. The ship spoke. But it didn't use radio waves or quantum communications. Instead, the voice appeared directly in the minds of every Imperial officer within 1,000 kilometers. The sensation was strange and frightening, like having someone whisper inside, "Your skull! We are humanity!" The voice was calm and clear, speaking perfect galactic standard despite no record of contact with this species. Around the fleet, Kai Jun could hear gasps and worried voices as officers realized what was happening. "We have observed your empire's expansion and treatment of lesser civilizations. This ends now." Admiral Huan tried to respond, but the voice continued as if he hadn't spoken. "You have 7 standard days to begin withdrawing from all conquered worlds and returning sovereignty to their original inhabitants. This is not a negotiation." Suddenly, every computer screen in the Imperial fleet began displaying information. Detailed intelligence about Imperial military capabilities, troop deployments, classified strategic plans, the locations of secret weapons research facilities, and the personal files of high-ranking officers. Information that should have been impossible for outsiders to obtain. Kai Jun stared at his screen in horror as his own classified service record appeared, including operations he had conducted that were known only to the Emperor's inner circle. Around him, his officers were looking at similar displays showing information that could only have come from the deepest levels of Imperial intelligence. "We know everything about you," the voice continued. "You know nothing about us. Choose wisely." The data streams stopped as suddenly as they had begun, leaving the fleet in stunned silence. Then Admiral Huan's angry voice crackled over the communication system. "Unknown vessel, you will surrender immediately for interrogation or we will open fire." "Admiral Huan," the voice responded, somehow knowing his name despite never having been told. "Your dreadnought Eternal Dominion was built at the Korath 7 shipyards 3 years ago. It carries a crew of 4,237 beings. Your main weapons are 8 heavy plasma cannons and 24 missile tubes. Your shields can withstand approximately 4.7 terawatts of sustained fire before failing." The voice paused, letting this detailed knowledge sink in. "Your wife's name is Bo-Ra. She teaches mathematics at the Imperial Academy on Centris Prime. Your daughter Ginny just turned 16 and wants to study xenobiology despite your wishes for her to join the military. You carry a photo of them in your jacket pocket." Admiral Juan's face had gone pale. This information was not in any military database. This was personal, private, impossible for strangers to know. "We know everything about every one of you," the voice said gently. "Your ships, your weapons, your families, your fears. We have been watching you for a very long time." "This is impossible," Admiral Juan whispered, but his voice carried over the open channel. "Your emperor believes his empire is strong because it conquers those who are weak. But strength is not measured by how many you can defeat. It is measured by how many you can protect. You have failed this test." The information displays activated again, but this time they showed something different. Images of conquered worlds, enslaved populations, destroyed civilizations, the full history of imperial expansion over 3,000 years, told from the perspective of the victims. "7 days," the voice repeated. "Begin the withdrawal, or face the consequences of your choices." Then the ship vanished, not into hyperspace, not with any energy signature or gravitational disturbance. It simply ceased to exist on every sensor, simultaneously leaving the massive Imperial fleet surrounding empty space. The silence that followed was deafening. 1,500 of the most powerful warships in the galaxy, commanded by the Empire's best officers, had just been lectured by a single unknown vessel that had displayed technology beyond their understanding. Admiral Juan's shaken voice finally broke the silence. "All ships return to standard patrol positions. I need to speak with the Emperor immediately." As the fleet dispersed, Kai-Jun remained in his command chair, staring at the space where the ship had been. The beings called themselves humans, and they had just delivered an ultimatum to the most powerful empire in galactic history. They knew everything about the empire, its strengths, its weaknesses, its secrets. They could appear anywhere, anytime, without warning. They could communicate directly into people's minds and access information that should have been impossible to obtain. And they had given the Empire 7 days to voluntarily give up everything. It had built over 3 millennia. Kai-Jun had served the Empire his entire adult life. He had never seen it show weakness or back down from any challenge. But as he thought about what had just happened, he wondered if the Empire was about to face something it had never encountered before, an enemy that was truly superior to them in every way. The countdown had begun, and Kai-Jun had the sinking, feeling that these humans were not making empty threats. In 7 days, one way or another, everything was going to change. Emperor Vextar stood before the great window of his throne room, looking out at the stars that had belonged to his empire for 3,000 years. His golden scales rippled with anger as he listened to Admiral Juan's report about the encounter. "Above Dominion Prime, you're telling me that a single ship threatened the entire empire, accessed our most classified information, and then disappeared without a trace?" "Yes, Your Majesty. They demonstrated technology far beyond anything in our databases. They knew details about our officers that should have been impossible to obtain." Emperor Vextar turned from the window, his yellow eyes burning with rage. "Impossible is not a word I accept. The Empire has conquered 47 species across 3,000 years. We have defeated every enemy, absorbed every useful technology, and crushed every rebellion. These humans will be no different. Your Majesty, with respect, this situation may require a different approach. They seem to know everything about us while we know nothing about them." "Then we will learn," the Emperor said, his voice like grinding stone. "And then we will destroy them. How dare they demand that the Empire withdraw from worlds we have rightfully conquered? How dare they threaten us in our own capital?" The Emperor activated his communication system and began calling his military commanders from across the galaxy. Within hours, the largest war council in Imperial history was assembled. Admirals, generals, and fleet commanders appeared on screens. Around the throne room, their faces showing a mixture of concern and determination. "My loyal commanders," Emperor Vexitar began, "today the Empire faces a new threat. A species calling themselves humans has issued an ultimatum demanding our withdrawal from conquered territories. They have demonstrated advanced technology and detailed knowledge of our capabilities." Admiral Kai Jun spoke from his screen. "Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider their demand. If they have technology superior to ours, never!" The Emperor's roar echoed through the throne room. "The Empire does not negotiate with threats. We do not bow to ultimatums. We do not surrender what we have rightfully taken through superior strength." "But Your Majesty," Admiral Kai Jun persisted, "they were able to appear above Dominion Prime itself, bypass all our defenses, and access our most classified information. This suggests capabilities we cannot match. Then we will find another way," Emperor Vexitar said coldly. "Admiral Huan, I want you to mobilize the largest fleet in Imperial history. Every available ship from every sector. I want 8,000 vessels assembled at Nexus Prime within 3 days." The number was staggering. The Empire had never assembled a force of that size, not even during the Great Rebellion 2 centuries ago. 8,000 ships represented nearly half of the Empire's total military capacity. "Your Majesty," Admiral Huan said carefully, "a fleet of that size will require ships from all 47 member species. Some of our newer acquisitions may not be reliable in a major conflict. I don't care. I want every race in the Empire to participate in crushing these humans. Let them all. See what happens to those who threaten Imperial authority." Dr. Young-Su, the Empire's leading scientist and one of the few non-Imperial species allowed in high-level meetings, appeared on one of the screens. His pale blue skin and large eyes marked him as one of the Zentari, a species conquered 200 years ago but allowed to serve the Empire due to their scientific abilities. "Your Majesty, I've been analyzing the data from the encounter. The human ship's ability to appear and disappear suggests mastery over dimensional physics that we consider purely theoretical. Their communication method implies direct neural interface technology. Their information-gathering capabilities indicate surveillance systems beyond our current understanding." "What are you saying, Doctor?" "I'm saying that these beings may represent a technological paradigm completely outside Imperial understanding. Their capabilities suggest they operate on scientific principles we haven't discovered yet." Emperor Vextar's eyes narrowed. "Are you suggesting they are superior to us?" Dr. Young-Su hesitated. "In the Empire, suggesting that any species was superior to the ruling Korthak was dangerous." "I'm suggesting caution, Your Majesty. We should gather more information before committing to military action." "Caution is for the weak," Emperor Vextar said dismissively. "The Empire's strength has always come from decisive action and overwhelming force. These humans will learn that challenging the Empire was the last mistake they will ever make." Over the next 2 days, ships began arriving at Nexus Prime from across the galaxy. Sleek Zentari science vessels with their advanced sensors. Massive, Brutak battleships built for close combat, swift Villani destroyers designed for hit-and-run attacks, heavily armored Corvin dreadnoughts bristling with weapons, ships from dozens of species, each bringing their unique technologies and fighting styles. Captain HFY watched the fleet assembly from her position aboard the Sovereign's Will. She had never seen so many different ship designs in one place. The diversity was both impressive and troubling. It reminded her of how many civilizations the Empire had conquered over the millennia. "Captain," her sensor officer called out, "I'm reading 8,347 ships, now in the system. This is definitely the largest fleet in recorded history." HFY nodded, but she couldn't shake her worry about what they were planning to do with all this firepower. The humans had shown technology that seemed almost magical. Could even a fleet this size defeat beings who could appear and disappear at will? Her thoughts were interrupted by a communication from Admiral Kai-Jun. "Captain HFY, report to my flagship immediately. The Emperor is about to address the fleet." An hour later, HFY stood in the briefing room of Kai-Jun's flagship alongside hundreds of other officers. Every screen in the room showed Emperor Vextar's imposing form as he prepared to speak to the assembled fleet. "Warriors of the Empire," the Emperor began, "today you represent the greatest military force ever assembled in galactic history. 8,000 ships from 47 species united under the Imperial banner." Cheers echoed from ships throughout the fleet, but HFY noticed that Admiral Kai-Jun remained silent. "These humans think they can threaten us with superior technology. They believe they can demand our withdrawal from worlds we have rightfully conquered. They are wrong. Today, we begin the hunt that will end with their complete destruction." "Your orders are simple," Emperor Vextar continued. "Find them. Follow them. Destroy every ship, every base, every world that belongs to them. Show the galaxy what happens to those who challenge Imperial authority." As the Emperor's speech ended, and the fleet began to disperse across the galaxy, Captain HFY found herself alone with Admiral Kai-Jun in his ready room. "Admiral, do you think this is wise? The humans demonstrated capabilities we can't explain." Kai-Jun was quiet for a long moment, staring out at the massive fleet spreading across space. "Captain, I've served the Empire for 20 years. I've seen us conquer species with technology we didn't understand. We've always found a way to win through superior numbers and determination. But this feels different." "Yes, it does. These humans aren't just technologically advanced. They seem to understand us better than we understand ourselves. They knew personal details about Admiral Juan that were never recorded anywhere." "Then why are we doing this?" "Because the Emperor has spoken, and we are Imperial officers. But Captain, I want you to remember something as we begin this campaign. Sometimes the greatest courage is knowing when to admit you're wrong." As the fleet jumped to hyperspace, beginning the largest military operation in Imperial history, none of them realized they were about to discover just how wrong they could be. The humans had given them 7 days to withdraw peacefully. The Empire had chosen war instead. Soon they would learn the difference between those two choices. The largest fleet in galactic history spread across the galaxy like a vast net, searching for any trace of human civilization. 8,000 ships divided into hundreds of task forces, each equipped with the most advanced sensors the Empire possessed. They swept through star system after star system, finding nothing. Admiral Kai-Jun commanded the largest search group, 300 ships spread across the galactic north. For 3 days, they had scanned every planet, every asteroid, every piece of space debris larger than a fighter craft. Their sensors could detect a single ship hiding behind a moon from 50 light-years away, but they found no trace of human presence anywhere. "It's like they don't exist," Captain HFY reported, from her position in the search pattern. "No bases, No colonies, no industrial facilities. How can an advanced spacefaring species leave no trace? Keep searching, Kai-Jun ordered, though he was beginning to wonder the same thing. Every known species in the galaxy had left some mark of their presence. Mining operations, communication arrays, defense platforms, something. But the humans seemed to have appeared from nowhere. On the fourth day, everything changed. Scout Captain Rion was leading a small reconnaissance squadron near the galactic core, checking a cluster of uninhabited systems that their long-range sensors had flagged as potentially interesting. Her 12 ships were the fastest in the Imperial fleet. Sleek destroyers designed for speed and stealth rather than heavy combat. "Captain," her sensor officer called out, "I'm detecting something unusual in the Epsilon Draconis system." Define. Unusual. A single ship. Unknown configuration. It matches the description of the vessels that have been appearing near our facilities. Rion felt her heart rate increase. After 4 days of searching, they had finally found one. "Are you certain?" "Yes, Captain. Same dark hull, same unusual energy signature. It's just sitting there in open space about 3 astronomical units from the star. Signal the fleet. Tell them we've made contact." Rion paused, remembering the stories about what these ships could do. "And tell them to hurry." As her squadron approached the human vessel, Rion studied it through her view screen. It was exactly as described. Dark, sleek, and somehow wrong in a way that made her experienced crew nervous. Unlike their previous encounters, this ship didn't seem to be hiding or observing. It was waiting. "Captain, the ship is moving toward us," her pilot reported. "Evasive action? No, Captain. It's not moving to attack. It's just approaching, like it wants to meet us." This was different from all the previous sightings. Before, the human ships had simply watched and then disappeared. This one was actively seeking contact. All ships, battle formation, weapons powered but not targeted. Let's see what they want. The human ship moved with a grace that Rion had never seen before. It didn't thrust or accelerate in any normal way. Instead, it seemed to glide through space, as if the laws of physics were merely suggestions it could choose to follow or ignore. "Captain, they're transmitting," the communications officer announced. "Audio only. Let's hear what they have to say." The voice that came through their speakers was the same calm, measured tone they had heard above Dominion Prime. "Imperial vessels, you are searching for us. You have found us. Now you will learn why your Emperor should have accepted our offer. Unknown vessel, this is Captain Rion of the Imperial Fleet. You are ordered to surrender for questioning." "Captain Rion," the voice replied, somehow knowing her name despite never being told. "You graduated from the Imperial Naval Academy 7 years ago. You specialize in reconnaissance and fast attack tactics. You have never lost a ship under your command. Today that record will continue, though not in the way you expect." "What do you mean?" "Your ships will be disabled, not destroyed. Your crews will be unharmed. You will return to your fleet with a message. But first, you must understand what you are truly facing. We're facing 1 ship against 12. The odds are in our favor." "Odds," the human said, and Rion could hear something like amusement in the voice. "Captain, you still think this is about numbers?" What happened next lasted exactly 97 seconds. Rion knew the precise time because her ship's computer recorded every moment of the impossible battle that followed. The human ship moved first, but not in any way that made sense. Instead of turning toward them, it seemed to phase partially, out of normal space, becoming translucent like a ghost. When Rian's ships fired their weapons, the energy beams and missiles passed right through the human vessel as if it wasn't there. But the human ship's weapons worked perfectly well. Beams of pure energy lanced out from the ghostly vessel, striking each Imperial ship with surgical precision. But instead of explosions and destruction, the weapons seemed to reach inside the ships and simply turn off their systems. Engines stopped, weapons powered down, life support continued working, but everything else died. "What's happening?" Rian called to her engineering section. "Captain, our entire power grid is shutting down. It's like something is telling our systems to stop working, but I can't find any damage anywhere." One by one, Rian's ships went dark. Not destroyed, not damaged, just stopped. The human vessel moved between them like a dancer, phasing in and out of normal space, impossible to target but perfectly able to target them. Within 97 seconds, 12 Imperial warships floated helplessly in space. Their crews unharmed, but their ships completely powerless. The human ship reappeared fully in normal space and moved to float directly in front of Rian's disabled destroyer. The communication channel activated again. "Captain Rian, your weapons cannot harm us because we exist partially outside the dimension you call normal space. Your shields cannot stop us because our weapons operate on principles your science has not yet discovered. Your engines cannot outrun us because we do not travel through space the way you do." "This is impossible," Rian whispered. "Your Emperor sent 8,000 ships to hunt us. You have found one of us. Now you understand why numbers do not matter. How many of you are there?" "Enough," the voice said simply. "Captain, your ships will regain power in 1 hour. You will return to Admiral Kai Jun and deliver this message. Your 7 days are now 6. Begin your withdrawal from conquered worlds, or tomorrow you will face the consequences of refusing our mercy. And if we refuse, then you will discover that what you have seen today was not an attack. It was a demonstration. True war with humanity would end your empire in a matter of days, not years." The human ship began to fade, becoming translucent again. "Captain, one more thing. Take time to consider what your empire truly represents. You serve a civilization built on conquest and oppression. Today, you have met a civilization built on justice and protection. Choose carefully which future you want to be part of." Then the ship vanished completely, leaving Rian and her crews floating in space, waiting for their systems to restart. Exactly 1 hour later, as promised, power returned to all 12 ships. Rian immediately contacted Admiral Kai Jun, knowing that what she had to report would change everything. "Admiral, we found them. One ship. It disabled our entire squadron in less than 2 minutes without causing any casualties. How is that possible?" "Sir, they have technology that operates outside normal physics. They can phase in and out of our dimension at will. Our weapons can't touch them, but they can disable our ships by simply telling our systems to stop working." Admiral Kai Jun was quiet for a long moment. "Captain, return to the fleet immediately. And Captain, prepare for the possibility that this war is not going to go the way the Emperor expects." As Rian's squadron limped back toward the main fleet, she thought about the human's final words. She had spent her entire career serving an empire that had conquered dozens of species, enslaving entire worlds to build their power. She had always believed it was necessary, that strength gave them the right to rule over the weak. But today, she had met beings who were stronger than the empire, and instead of conquering, they were demanding justice for the conquered. For the first time in her life, Captain Rion began to wonder if she had been serving the wrong side. News of Captain Rion's encounter spread through the Imperial fleet like wildfire. Within hours, every ship commander knew that a single human vessel had disabled 12 Imperial warships without suffering any damage in return. The impossible had become reality, but Emperor Vextar refused to accept what his officers were telling him. "One ship cannot defeat 12, he declared during an emergency council meeting. "There must be an explanation. Perhaps they used some kind of virus to attack our computer systems. Perhaps they had hidden allies. Perhaps our officers were simply unprepared." Admiral Kai Jun tried to explain what had really happened. "Your Majesty, Captain Rion is one of our best officers. Her report is detailed and consistent. The human ship demonstrated the ability to phase in and out of normal space-time, making it immune to our weapons while allowing it to attack us freely." "Physics doesn't work that way," Emperor Vextar snapped. "Our physics doesn't work that way," corrected Dr. Young-Soo from his laboratory. "Your Majesty, I've been analyzing the sensor data from the encounter. The human ship appears to manipulate fundamental forces at the quantum level. They're not just using advanced technology, they're rewriting the laws of physics around their vessels during combat." "Impossible." "No, Your Majesty. Just beyond our current understanding. But there's something else you need to know. I've been monitoring communications from our border worlds. Since news of these encounters began spreading, some of the conquered species are beginning to show signs of unrest." This got the Emperor's attention. The Empire controlled 47 different species across thousands of worlds. Most had been conquered so long ago that rebellion seemed impossible, but if they began to believe the Empire could be defeated, what kind of unrest? Small things so far. Work slowdowns on industrial worlds, increased security incidents on mining colonies, a few isolated attacks on Imperial installations. But, Your Majesty, these are species that haven't shown any resistance in centuries. Something has changed. Engineer Su Min, working on the orbital shipyards above Korath 7th, had noticed the change herself. In the cafeteria where workers from a dozen different species ate together, conversations had started to include whispers about the mysterious ships that could appear and disappear at will. "Did you hear about the encounter near the Galactic core?" a Volani worker asked quietly. 12 Imperial ships disabled by one unknown vessel. "The humans," said a Zentari technician. "They're the ones who've been watching our facilities, and they can defeat Imperial ships without even trying." Su Min listened to these conversations with growing concern. She had spent years working alongside conquered species, and she had never heard them speak with such hope before. For the first time in their lives, they were seeing the Empire show weakness. But the Emperor's response was predictable. Instead of considering withdrawal or negotiation, he ordered escalation. "Deploy the Worldcracker fleet," he commanded. The Worldcracker fleet consisted of 12 massive vessels, each one capable of destroying an entire planet. They were the Empire's ultimate weapon, designed to end rebellions by threatening to destroy any world that opposed Imperial rule. "Your Majesty," Admiral Kai Jun protested, "the Worldcracker fleet has never been used against an unknown species. We don't know where the humans come from or how many worlds they control. Then we'll destroy worlds until they surrender. If they want to protect the conquered species so badly, let them watch as we destroy those species' homeworlds one by one." Dr. Young-Soo's face went pale on the communication screen. "Your Majesty, that strategy assumes the humans care about civilian casualties, but what if they respond by destroying our worlds instead? With what? We've only seen single ships. Even if they have 100 vessels, they cannot match the full might of the Empire. Your Majesty, with respect, we've only seen what they've chosen to show us. A species with technology this advanced might have capabilities we haven't even imagined. But Emperor Vexitar had made his decision. The World Cracker fleet was dispatched to the border regions with orders to begin destroying the homeworlds of recently conquered species until the humans revealed themselves. Meanwhile, more encounters were occurring throughout the galaxy. Imperial patrols were meeting single human ships in dozens of different locations. In every case, the result was the same: Imperial vessels disabled without casualties, but with their crews left to contemplate the helplessness of their situation. Captain. HFY experienced one of these encounters personally while leading a patrol near the Vega system. A single human ship appeared directly in front of her squadron, as if it had been waiting for them. "Imperial vessels," came the familiar calm voice. "Your empire has chosen escalation over wisdom. You now deploy weapons capable of destroying entire worlds. This is unacceptable. Unknown vessel, this is Captain HFY. I'm ordering you to surrender for questioning." Captain HFY, you were present when we delivered our original message to your fleet above Dominion Prime. You heard our terms. Your Emperor has chosen to respond with the threat of planetary destruction rather than justice for the oppressed. I follow orders. The Empire's response is not my decision to make. But your future choices are your decision, Captain. Soon, you will need to decide whether you serve justice or tyranny. The human ship began the same phasing process that had disabled Captain Rian's squadron, but this time something different happened. Instead of immediately disabling HFY's ships, the human vessel transmitted a data stream directly to her personal console. Images flooded her screen: the construction of the first human starships, their early exploration of space, their first contact with other species. But these images showed something impossible. The human ships in the historical records looked exactly like the advanced vessels they were encountering now. "This is impossible," HFY whispered. "These records show your technology has been the same for centuries. How do you advance so slowly?" "We do not advance, Captain. We have reached the end of technological development. What you call advancement, we call learning to live in harmony with the universe itself." More images appeared, human colonies existing in the same regions of space as Imperial worlds, but somehow invisible to Imperial sensors. Entire human civilizations thriving in dimensions parallel to normal space, watching the Empire's expansion for centuries. "You've been here all along," HFY realized. "We have been waiting, Captain, waiting for the Empire to grow wise enough to stop its expansion, waiting for the conquered species to grow strong enough to free themselves, waiting for officers like you to realize that strength should protect, not oppress. Why reveal yourselves now? Because the Empire has reached the limits of our patience. Your species has conquered 47 others. Your expansion threatens to consume the entire galaxy. We cannot wait any longer." HFY's ships powered down just as the others had. But this time she felt no helplessness. Instead, she felt something she had never experienced before: the certainty that she was seeing true justice in action. "Captain," the human voice said, gently, "when you return to your fleet, tell Admiral Kai Jun that he will soon need to choose between his oath to the Empire and his duty to the innocent. The same choice awaits every Imperial officer. What's going to happen? Your Emperor has deployed weapons of planetary destruction. Tomorrow we will show him what happens when mercy is refused. Your 7 days are now 3. Use them wisely. As power returned to her ships, Captain Hei-Wan realized that everything she had believed about the Empire, about the galaxy, about her own purpose in life, was about to change forever. The humans weren't just technologically superior, they represented a completely different way of thinking about power and responsibility, and in 3 days, the Empire would learn the difference between ruling through fear and protecting through strength. The 7 days expired at exactly noon, Imperial Standard Time. Admiral Kai Jun was in his command center on Nexus Prime when it happened, watching the countdown timer reach 0 with a growing sense of dread. Admiral, his communications officer, called out, "We're receiving reports from across the galaxy, multiple contacts appearing simultaneously." "How many contacts?" "Sir, initial reports are showing thousands. No, tens of thousands. Sir, every major Imperial facility is reporting massive fleet formations appearing in their space." Kai Jun felt his stomach drop. "Show me." The main display activated, showing a galactic map with red indicators marking Imperial strongholds. But now, surrounding every red dot, were clusters of blue indicators representing human ships. Not 1 or 2 ships like they had encountered before, but entire fleets. "Admiral, I'm receiving a transmission from Dominion Prime. The capital is surrounded by what appears to be several thousand human vessels." "Several thousand?" Kai Jun could barely process what he was hearing. "How is that possible? Where did they all come from?" His question was answered when a new voice filled the command center, not transmitted through their communication systems, but speaking directly into the minds of everyone present, just as before. "Admiral Kai Jun, I am Admiral Park of the Human Defense Force. Your Emperor was given 7 days to begin withdrawal from conquered worlds. He chose instead to deploy weapons capable of destroying entire planets. This ends now." Through the main view screen, Kai Jun could see them, dozens of massive ships materializing in the space around Nexus Prime. Each one was larger than anything in the Imperial fleet, and their dark hulls seemed to absorb light itself. "How many ships do you have?" Kai Jun asked aloud. "Enough," came the reply. "Admiral, your empire has ruled through fear and oppression for 3,000 years. Today, that ends. We are not here to conquer. We are here to liberate." Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. On Korath 7th, Engineer Su Min watched from her orbital platform as human ships appeared around the shipyards where Imperial dreadnoughts were built. But instead of attacking, they simply positioned themselves to prevent any ships from leaving. "Attention all Imperial forces!" Admiral Park's voice reached every person in Imperial uniform across the galaxy. "You are surrounded and outgunned. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your shields cannot protect you. But we are not here to destroy you. Lay down your arms and no harm will come to you." Emperor Vexitar's response was immediate and predictable. From the safety of his fortress palace on Dominion Prime, he ordered all Imperial forces to open fire. What happened next defied every principle of space combat that Admiral Kai Jun had ever learned. The Imperial fleets opened fire with everything. They had energy weapons, missiles, particle beams, plasma cannons. The combined firepower of 8,000 ships unleashed simultaneously across the galaxy should have lit up space like a new star. Instead, every weapon simply passed through. The human ships as if they weren't there. The massive vessels had become translucent, existing in normal space just enough to be visible, but not enough to be harmed. But the human return fire was devastating in its precision. Beams of energy reached out from the ghostly ships. But instead of destroying Imperial vessels, they did something far more sophisticated. Every Imperial ship across the galaxy simply stopped. Engines shut down. Weapons powered off. Life support continued to function, but everything else died. Admiral Kaijun's tactical officer reported in amazement, "Every Imperial ship in the galaxy has been disabled simultaneously. No casualties reported anywhere, but total system shutdown across the entire fleet." That's impossible. 8,000 ships spread across hundreds of star systems, all disabled at exactly the same moment? Sir, it's as if they sent a signal that told every Imperial computer system to simply stop working. Admiral Park's voice filled the command center again. "Admiral Kaijun, what you have just witnessed is the difference between destruction and control. We could have destroyed every Imperial ship in the galaxy just as easily as we disabled them. We chose mercy." On Dominion Prime, Emperor Vextar was discovering that his palace's defenses were equally useless. Human ships hung motionless above his throne room, completely immune to the massive orbital defense platforms that surrounded the capital world. "Your Majesty," Admiral Park's voice spoke directly to the Emperor. "You ruled through fear because you believed fear made you strong. Today you learn that true strength comes from those who choose to protect rather than oppress." "I will never surrender to you," Emperor Vexitar snarled. "You do not need to surrender to us, Your Majesty. You need to surrender to justice." Across the galaxy, something unprecedented began to happen. On world after world where Imperial forces had been disabled, the original inhabitants began to emerge from hiding. Species that had been conquered centuries ago, taught to live in fear of Imperial punishment, suddenly found themselves free. On the mining world of Kepler Prime, the native Thylorians who had been enslaved for 200 years looked up to see human ships holding Imperial forces at bay. For the first time in generations, they dared to hope. On the agricultural planet of New Carthage, the Zalani farmers who had been forced to grow crops for Imperial consumption watched as their overseers' communication systems failed and their transport ships powered down. Captain Hei-Wan, drifting powerless in her disabled ship, received another transmission from the human vessel that had defeated her squadron. "Captain, you wondered what would happen when our patience expired. Now you see, we are not conquerors. We are liberators. What happens to us now? That depends on your choices, Captain. Your empire is ended. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are useless. But you and your crews are unharmed. You can choose to help us build something better, or you can cling to the failed system you served. And if we refuse to help, then you will be left on a world where you can harm no one but yourselves. We do not force cooperation, Captain. We offer the opportunity for redemption." Engineer Su Min, watching the liberation from her platform, above Korath 7th, saw something that made her heart race. The human ships weren't just disabling Imperial forces, they were actively protecting the conquered species. When some Imperial troops tried to use local populations as hostages, human forces intervened with surgical precision, disabling the weapons without harming anyone. "Attention all Imperial personnel!" Admiral Park's voice reached every corner of the galaxy. "Your empire is finished. Your ships are disabled. Your weapons are powerless. You have two choices. Help us repair the damage your empire has caused, or be relocated to worlds where you cannot harm others. But understand this. The age of conquest is over. Never again will one species be allowed to enslave another. We have watched your empire's expansion for centuries, waiting for you to choose wisdom over power. You chose power. Now that choice has been taken from you. Admiral Kai-Jun sat in his darkened command center, contemplating what had just happened. In less than 1 day, the most powerful empire in galactic history had been completely defeated without a single human casualty. The beings who called themselves human had demonstrated technology so advanced that imperial science looked primitive by comparison. But more than that, they had shown restraint. They could have destroyed every imperial ship, every imperial world, every imperial citizen. Instead, they had chosen to disable and capture rather than destroy. Admiral Park, Kai-Jun spoke aloud, knowing the human commander could hear him. What happens now? Now, Admiral, we begin the work of healing. 47. Species have been freed from imperial rule. Thousands of worlds will need to rediscover self-governance. Millions of beings will need to learn to live without fear. And the imperial species? The Korthak? They will learn that true strength comes from protecting others, not dominating them. Your emperor built an empire on conquest. We offer him the chance to build a legacy of redemption. As reports continued to pour in from across the galaxy, Admiral Kai-Jun realized that he was witnessing the end of one age and the beginning of another. The empire that had seemed invincible just hours ago was gone, defeated by beings who chose mercy over destruction. The unknown ships that had appeared and disappeared had indeed ensured the empire never stood a chance, not because they brought superior firepower, but because they brought superior wisdom. 72 hours after the human fleets appeared, the Valdris Empire ceased to exist, not through destruction, but through systematic dismantling. Admiral Kai-Jun stood in what had once been his command center, now occupied by human personnel, who worked with quiet efficiency to transfer control of imperial facilities to their original inhabitants. Admiral, a human officer approached him. She was tall and calm, with the same measured presence that all humans seem to possess. I am Commander Jinsu of the Human Liberation Force. Admiral Park has requested to speak with you. Kai-Jun followed her to what had been the secure communication chamber. Admiral Park's image appeared on the screen. A middle-aged human with gray hair and eyes that seemed to hold the weight of centuries. Admiral Kai-Jun, you have served the Empire with honor, even when the Empire itself lacked honor. That is why I am offering you a choice. What kind of choice? The galaxy needs peacekeepers, Admiral, beings who understand both the price of war and the value of peace. You have commanded fleets, but you have also shown restraint when others called for violence. We could use officers like you in what comes next. Kai-Jun thought about the offer. 3 days ago, he had been one of the Empire's most trusted admirals. Now the Empire was gone, defeated by beings who had been watching from the shadows for centuries. What exactly are you offering? A chance to help build something better. The 47 species your empire conquered are now free. But freedom, without guidance, often leads to chaos. We need beings who understand military necessity but also value justice. And if I refuse, then you will be given a ship and passage to any world where you wish to live in peace. We do not force service, Admiral. We offer opportunity. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place. Captain Hei Wan had already accepted an offer to help establish new defense forces for liberated worlds. Captain Rian was working with human engineers to convert Imperial warships into humanitarian vessels. Engineer Su Min had perhaps the most interesting offer of all. She stood in a human laboratory that defied her understanding of physics, watching as human scientists demonstrated technology that manipulated matter at the quantum level. Engineer Su Min, the lead scientist, said, "Your work on Imperial Starship design shows remarkable creativity despite technological limitations. We would like you to help us share human technology with the liberated species." Share your technology? Why would you do that? Because knowledge belongs to all beings, not just those strong enough to hoard it. Your empire kept the conquered species weak by denying them advanced technology. We believe in lifting others up, not holding them down. Sumin looked at the devices around her. Machines that could manipulate gravity, generators that drew energy. From dimensional barriers, computers that operated by manipulating quantum states directly. The humans were offering to teach her secrets that would advance her species by thousands of years. There must be a catch. Only one. The technology we share must only be used to help others, never to conquer or oppress. Will you accept that responsibility? Meanwhile, on Dominion Prime, Emperor Vextar faced his own reckoning. Admiral Park stood before the fallen Emperor's throne, no longer speaking through mental projection but present in person. The human admiral was smaller than the massive Korthak ruler, but somehow his presence filled the entire throne room. "Your Majesty, your empire is ended. Your fleets are disabled. Your worlds are liberated. But you still live. And that means you still have choices to make." "I will never submit to you," Vextar growled, his golden scales dulling with rage and humiliation. "I am not asking for submission, Your Majesty. I am offering redemption. You ruled an empire of conquest for most of your life. You could spend your remaining years helping to heal the damage that empire caused." "Redemption?" Vextar laughed bitterly. "I am a conqueror. It is what I am." "No, Your Majesty. It is what you chose to be. Today, you can choose to be something else." Admiral Park gestured to the great window that looked out over Dominion Prime. Instead of the military parades and imposing architecture of the imperial capital, the city below was transforming. Human engineers worked alongside beings from dozens of species, tearing down monuments to conquest and building schools, hospitals, and cultural centers. Your subjects are learning to live without fear, Your Majesty. They are discovering what they can accomplish when they work together instead of being forced to serve. You could be part of that transformation. And if I refuse, then you will be given comfortable quarters on a world where you can harm no one. You will live out your days in peace, but alone. Emperor Vextar stared out at his former capital, watching as beings who had once cowered before his authority now worked together as equals. For the first time in his long life, he began to understand the difference between respect born of fear and respect born of admiration. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy transformed with remarkable speed. The humans proved to be as efficient at building as they had been at dismantling. Liberation forces helped establish new governments on freed worlds. Advanced human technology was carefully shared with species ready to use it responsibly. Former Imperial personnel who chose cooperation over resistance found themselves welcomed into new roles as protectors rather than oppressors. Dr. Young-Soo found himself in charge of a new scientific institute dedicated to sharing knowledge between species. For 200 years, I served an empire that hoarded knowledge to maintain power, he told his first class of students from a dozen different worlds. Today we begin the work of learning together. Captain Hei-Wan commanded one of the new peacekeeping vessels. ships that combined the best of human and imperial technology, designed for protection rather than conquest. Her mixed crew of humans and former imperial personnel had proven remarkably effective at preventing conflicts between newly liberated worlds. The difference, she explained to a group of young officers, is that we serve justice rather than power. We protect the weak instead of exploiting them. It changes everything about how you approach every situation. Admiral Kai-Jun had accepted Admiral Park's offer and now helped coordinate the massive task of converting Imperial military facilities into humanitarian operations. Standing in his new office, he looked out at a fleet of ships being converted from warships to colony vessels, medical ships, and exploration craft. "Admiral Park," he said during one of their regular meetings, "may I ask you something?" "Of course." "How long were you watching us?" "Really watching, I mean. Understanding our capabilities, our weaknesses, our plans." Admiral Park smiled. "Admiral, humans have been watching your empire since its first expansion beyond the Korthak home system. 3,000 years ago." 3,000 years? But that means... Yes. We could have stopped your empire at any time. We chose to wait. Why? Think of all the suffering you could have prevented, and think of all the growth that suffering caused, Admiral Park replied gently. The Zentari would never have developed their advanced sciences if conquest hadn't forced them to innovate. The Villani would never have learned cooperation if oppression hadn't taught them the value of unity. Every species your empire conquered was strengthened by the experience, even if they didn't realize it. So you let the empire exist to teach us lessons? We let the empire exist because forced peace is not true peace, Admiral. Every species in this galaxy needed to learn these lessons for themselves. Today they are finally ready for the next step, which is learning to explore the universe together instead of fighting over pieces of it. Admiral Park gestured to a star chart showing the galaxy. This is just one galaxy among billions, Admiral. There are wonders out there beyond. Imagination, waiting for beings wise enough to work together to discover them. 6 months after the end of the Empire, Engineer Suman stood aboard the first joint exploration vessel, a ship built with combined human and galactic technology, crewed by beings from 20 different species. They were about to embark on humanity's first gift to the galaxy, a journey to explore the space between galaxies, seeking new worlds and new forms of life. "Are you ready?" asked Commander Jin Su, now captain of the exploration vessel. "I think so," Su Min replied, looking at the crew around her. Former enemies now working as friends, former conquerors now serving as protectors, former slaves now standing as equals. "Engineer Su Min," Admiral Park's voice came over the communication system from his flagship. "You asked me once why we revealed ourselves when we did. Today, you have your answer. Which is? Because today, for the first time in 3,000 years, the galaxy is ready to reach for the stars together instead of fighting over them." As the exploration fleet departed for the void between galaxies, Admiral Kai-Jun reflected on how completely the universe had changed. The empire that had seemed invincible 6 months ago was a memory. The species that had been enemies were now allies. The galaxy that had been divided by conquest was now united by cooperation. The unknown ships that had appeared and disappeared had indeed ensured the empire never stood a chance, not because they brought superior weapons, but because they brought a superior vision of what the galaxy could become, and in the end, that vision proved more powerful than any fleet.